wide, and they lift her left breast and they poke this instrument between her fifth and sixth rib cage into her heart.
Why did they decide to kill her?
Well, she's blind, she's maimed, she will never recover, and the clock is running. They've got to get her out of there.
And how do they explain what happened to her?
They don't. I mean, this is a secret.
No, that's the point. They have to do her in, I guess.
That's right. And I understand your question now. The rhetorical, how they explain it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a mercy killing at that point in time, and then she's at the U.S. Public Health Service hospital. Okay, there's about 13 buildings on this campus, and she's in one of the buildings on the back. Today, it's very interesting. I've been to this building recently. It looks like a set from a horror movie, okay? The other 12 buildings on this facility, which is now run by the state of Louisiana as a hospital, are in perfect condition. The buildings themselves were all built back around 1910 or so. They're all brick and stuff. But this one building that the particle accelerator was in, the roof is caving in, the shutters are falling off. You wouldn't even want to walk into it. And I've talked to people who've been in the building because they were looking at renting it for a laboratory and stuff. And they just said it's in deplorable situation. But what you find in there is you find that there's a room down in the bottom that's like circular shape. And right in the center of that room, it kind of looks like an operating room, but everything is asbestos. The walls, the ceiling, the floor, everything is asbestos. And what they had in there was they had a platinum pyramid to divide the beam of the linear particle accelerator because they were reflecting equal doses into these chambers because there is a series of chambers around this room, and that's where they were putting the monkey viruses. And they were deliberately...
Yeah, let's jump ahead for a second, Ed, only because there's this tie-in where you write in your book, Dr. Mary's Monkey. Can I read a part here?
Yeah, please.
It says, it unveils the contamination of hundreds of millions of doses of the polio vaccine with dozens of monkey viruses. It spotlights the epidemic of soft tissue cancers that swept our country, and it exposes dangerous secret experiments which used radiation to mutate cancer, causing monkey viruses. Now, are you saying that this was going on in this Frankenstein-looking building, and Dr. Mary Sherman was part of it?
The third of the 3 points, yes. But in order to understand this, and I want to think about this from your listener's point of view at this point, what's causing all this? Where is this coming from? Why is this an issue? Why were they doing this? This whole thing goes back to the polio vaccine of the 1950s. And you were talking about the car industry earlier. They make about 30 million cars a year. These people had to make 200 million doses of the polio vaccine. Didn't have to, but that's what they were assigned to do. And in order to do that, they grew the polio virus to make the vaccines. They grew the polio virus on monkey kidney cells from the rhesus monkey. And that was the method of production. And this has to do with all this science that doesn't get much publicity, but it's all going on in the background. And after they released the 200 million doses of the polio vaccine in 1955 through 57, after they had done that, that is when they discovered the cancer-causing virus, originally named polyoma. This was discovered by Sarah Stewart and Bernice Eddy at the National Institute of Health in 1957. And by 1959, they had confirmed that the cancer-causing virus was in the polio vaccine.
So in this mystery, as we're unraveling tonight, Ed, we talk about this local murder in New Orleans of this doctor, and you're connecting it to what could very well be one of the biggest medical issues of mankind.
Yes, this is the biggest mistake in the history of government. I mean, they mass inoculated the entire American population and then some with a cancer-causing virus. And when I read this, and this doctor, I used to talk to him a couple of times a week, and he really beat me up to find this book, and I finally found this book, and it was called The Health Century, written by Edward Shorter, who is a professor of medical history up at the University of Toronto, and the book had been used as the basis of the PBS series called The Health Century, and he had a chapter on this discovery of the cancer-causing virus. And then I said, I've got to get the statistics on this from NCI and see if this is real.
Now, let's get to the second point when we come back, Ed, and you won't believe this one. We'll be right back.